and we're going to do some warm-ups today. So get out your pen and paper and let's do those ellipses. So yeah, the first one, that can be the worst one. It looks like we're not exactly live yet on YouTube, but yeah, here we go. I like to make sure that we're getting the live stream up and ready. I like to do 50 of these little elliptical shapes, get myself warmed up. That's nice to it's nice to do before drawing stuff. I like doing it before I do the show. Right. If you use paper or pencil, this can be really effective. But also, if you're just like, if you hold it right on your, this is a trick with Procreate, which you probably know, but if you hold it for long enough, right, you can make it perfect. But the idea is like the comparison between what was perfect and what I did. Anyway, I like this. I like just kind of knowing this is something that I'm never going to quite get it as accurate as I could with mechanical means, but that's okay. How many have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, 40 more to go. Yeah, good morning, everybody. And if you're just getting warmed up too, right, feel free to join me, or you can enjoy watching me struggle through this. Call that 20. I'm not counting. 21, 22, 23. All these are kind of going one direction. Or you can go clockwise, counterclockwise. 5, 6. That's nice. Give myself some more room. 7, 8. 30, 31. That one looks like a potato shape. Oh my god. 5, 6, 7. Kind of like that movie Inception. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the last 5, I'm going to switch over and use my other hand. Oh my god. It's terrible. Terrible. Warm-ups, right? Don't show this to anyone, right? As long as you remember that. Confidence. Best one yet. Okay. Right on. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Drawing for Tattooers. Thanks for doing your ellipses with me. I hope you're all warmed up just like I am, right? This is Monday, August 21st, right? It's 9:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're watching right now, you're watching Drawing for Tattooers on Guy Atchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Network. where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are all encouraged to join in the live stream and real world events. Our goal is to inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every single day, and with your help, we've evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art-related shows. Let's see, you can always find more on Reinventing the Tattoo, as well as these other fine places. And this is, I'd like to share my screen with you all at this point. So I'll do that. Here. Cool. So this is the Reinvented the Tattoo homepage, where you can find a free community, as well as sign up for different courses, including the Canon, which is the Reinventing the Tattoo book. Started off as a 3-ring binder, and now is this community, this information sort of mecca where you can learn all about the art that goes into tattooing. It's not really about teaching you how to tattoo per se, but it does teach you all of the image making practices that are really going to take your tattooing to the next level. So be sure to check out reinventingthetattoo.com for more. Right. So we've got these shows, got this one. We also have podcasts, right? So if you want to check out the podcast, you can find us at all these fine places, right? The Apple App Store, the Google Play Store. But of course, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Roku. But no matter where you're looking, right, you're always going to find the latest and greatest here on reinventingthetattoo.com. So we have professional development courses from 20 of world-class tattooers, right? We're always updating. You could choose so many different a la carte courses, right? Courses, check that out. Yeah. So these are some of the different offerings that you can choose from. Reinventing the Tattoo Canon, like I was talking about, history of electric tattooing, realistic 3D areola webinar with Lita Edwards, Nick Baxter's holistic approach, black and gray skull tattoo from Bob Tyrell, BJ Betts lettering. The list goes on. And so be sure to check out reinventingthetattoo.com for more. We have a number of weekly staple shows. I'd like to go through some of those with you right now. Beginning on Sundays, we have the Skill Building Drawing Group hosted by Jason Leeser. That's followed on Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. That's me. That's this show. Thank you for coming. Followed at 11 a.m. on Mondays, the Tattoo Now show. It's back and better than ever, so be sure to tune in for that. At 5 p.m. Eastern, we have Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple. That's followed at 9 p.m. on Mondays with the Reinventing the Tattoo subscribers exclusive drawing group. And so to gain access to that, you can find out more on the Reinventing the Tattoo homepage, and you can subscribe and join the drawing group. So we also have a few more shows to talk about. On Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast, hosted by Fawn Baker, and Kyle Bernstein's on there, and the whole gang from Red Tree ends up sort of coming on. It's really a lot of fun, that show. So be sure to check out the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast, right? Now's the point where I do like to mention our sponsors and thank them. WorldTattooEvents.com, just most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. Lots of updates as conventions are rescheduling like crazy. So you can find out more about tattoo events coming to your town at worldtattooevents.com. Tattoo Now. Tattoo Now is technology for tattooers. It's the leading edge in professional development and management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. There are upgrades competitive with any CRM mailing list software out there. So if you really want to take your communication to the next level, please consider Tattoo Now. You can ask for Gabe, who gets you all set up, onboarded, as it were. And of course, we'd like to thank Guy Atchison for being the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing and the Reinventing the Tattoo community. You can learn more about Guy Atchison at guyatchison.com, where you can find custom prints, original oil paintings, tattoo machines, as well as learn about Guy and his journey being a painter and making his way through the tattoo world. So yeah, make sure to check out guyatchison.com. He's got a portfolio on here and all kinds of products and stuff. So there's all kinds of fun things that you can find. Tattooing Wisdom, my website. Be sure to check it out if you want to learn more about me. Always updating it, always working on it. So work in progress. So anyway, you can learn more about me at tattooingwisdom.com. I got a couple of events I'd like to plug real quick. The High Lifestyle Show and Tattoo Arts Festival. It's coming to Boxborough, Massachusetts, September 22nd through the 24th. So if you're going to be in the Boxborough, Boston area, September 22nd through the 24th, check out the High Lifestyle Show. Come get a tattoo. There's going to be a lot of artists there, but I know Fawn Baker's going, and I'm going. A lot of other great artists are going to be there, as well as all sorts of fun and cannabis related celebration. So be sure to check it out. And the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. Can't wait for this. We're going to do the show, Drawing for Tattooers, here. But there's going to be so much more going on. So it's highly recommended. If the tickets are on sale right now. So be sure to check out tattoogathering.com, where you can learn more about visiting beautiful Jiminy Peak for the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. So anyway, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe, and you can leave positive reviews at here where you're watching it, as well as like if you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event or sponsor the community, you can email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. And so with that, we'll get on with it. Thanks everybody for coming. And welcome to another episode of the show. Looks like Spirit's on in the background. It's great to have you this morning, Spirit. Feel free to hop on if you like. We've really been having lots and lots of fantastic episodes lately. Lots of great guests. So be sure to check out the replays on YouTube, available on YouTube on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network channel. And so hey, good morning.
Good morning. Oh goodness, I'm topless. Let me I
didn't even
rectify that issue. Yeah, I don't want everybody to be to see my sexiness.
Yeah, we gotta maintain the ads, right? You know what I mean? Like
right, yeah.
On, right. It's
yeah, that's right.
YouTube automatically does. Mm-hmm. Anyway, whatever they do. So if we show too much nudity, they they don't monetize the episodes.
Yeah,
so we gotta watch out for that stuff. But anyway, it's been a hectic week of tattooing for me.
Awesome.
It's been great. Yeah, no, I hope you all out there are enjoying your work as well. Spirit, how have you been? How are things going?
I've been good, man. I can't lie, I can't complain. I'm doing great. I love loving what I do, doing nothing really has been going on. Just I've just been doing a lot of tattooing. Just been finding I'm okay. So remember when I was really trying to go hard on like realism?
Mm.
So I'm actually more refocusing on neo-traditional now. So that's kind of the direction that I think I'm just gonna just really just kind of put most of my focus. I'm still gonna try to like learn about realism and just learn that skill, but I'm not gonna like just really try to go in that direction. I'm just gonna try to, stay in the neo-traditional realm.
No, I think that's very interesting. I love this neo-traditional stuff. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
really do. It's very beautiful. It takes a lot of the elements that I think are really great about traditional and realism, right?
Hmm.
It's like a mashup of those things. And so I'm really, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
That's kind of the way that you're synthesizing, right? All the realism that you're doing, because maybe that's a way that you express yourself through your other artwork. But traditional tattoos, they make for really great tattoos also, which is
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Do you
and
have
then,
any
yeah, they
particular?
just last longer in my personal opinion. I let me just say that what I have learned from neo-traditional tattoos, I'm able to apply much longer lasting elements to the tattoo than I've been able to do with realism.
That's excellent. Um,
Hmm.
that is really excellent. Well, do you have anybody that you particularly like that does neo traditional that you're really into?
Yeah, I've been looking at this one guy that's actually gonna be at the expo that you got, the
Hmm.
Paradise Tattoo Gathering, and his name is I think it's Drew Shallis.
Ah,
Um, and it's either Drew's Hallis or Drew Shallis. I'm sure it's Drew Shallis. But it's that on Instagram. And oh my God, I mean his work is mind boggling. I mean, it's just so clean, just so perfect, and just like um, I sent pictures to you guys, just kind of asking questions about like what gives it this look, like why does this look this way, um, and one of the first things I noticed was he doesn't really do a lot of backgrounds on his work. He doesn't do a lot of backgrounds. He doesn't do that like that little cheesy little S. I mean, if you do this S curve, I'm just saying, fuck it. He doesn't do that little cheesy little S curve negative space that everybody does. And I just call it cheesy because it's a motion device that we use to create motion. And um, I haven't really been utilizing it, but people will tell me that you should put an S curve, a negative space S curve in it. And I'm just like, there are people that do it without having to do that, and yeah. Oh my God, it's beautiful. I mean, like, I remember I zoomed in, let's zoom into that one. Zoom in
this
on
one.
that one if you can. Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Can you zoom into the two lines that make the bottle?
Which the edge of the outside edge?
Yeah,
Which
the edge of the outside edge of the bottle.
these ones? Oh, I see what you're saying. Like these two
Yes,
parallel.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. Look at that. Like that's amazing. Just the how straight it is and how parallel they are. Even the water. you How does he do it? How does he, exact these perfect lines and yeah, it's just gorgeous. I just love it. He utilizes like the piece to create background. He uses because I asked Kyle about it, Kyle Olson, um, and he said, well, it's a few of the things that he does is he utilizes different shapes to create the motion. He'll
Mhm.
use different tonal values to create the motion and the dynamic, the dynamicy of it. Um, I love his color palette, just the muted orange behind the really poppy red. I'm starting to see that traditional artists mainly use three colors. Like they'll use one color that has all of the trimmings. You know, they'll use a like the skull, like the dark red all the way into the light red, but then they'll keep the muted tones kind of like one step. Like the leaves, they look like they have about two steps. You know what I'm saying? But the red probably has about four or five.
Well, this is interesting because this is, really what I wanted to talk about today is color. But I was,
Awesome.
I will just mention too, I definitely see is interesting. I definitely see in the composition this motion, an S-shaped motion, if you like, the place of
Hmm.
leaves, well, it's at least a diagonal, you know what I mean? That gives us this, this sort of diagonal pattern. Very interesting. You know what I mean? And so I hear what you're saying about like, that there can be this device that's almost, it feels so formulaic, like we're just doing the same thing over and over again. But, having, I guess like a diagonal that's inherent to the thing, it ends up, I think, helping you, you know, sort of break up that static, all the vertical and horizontal stuff. But yeah, like
Mm.
composition here, this bunch of leaves to these ones over here, it really is sort of, it's sort of leading our eye along this jawline and the cheekbone, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like the jawline and the cheek, like behind the eye socket, like that forms, the stem of the middle stem of the S.
yes,
You
yeah,
know, and I
absolutely.
didn't see that until you just said it. It's like, oh wow.
Right. And then there's, of course, so some anatomical terms because I love it, right? So the zygomatic that's your cheekbone. So the zygomatic and so the zygomatic arch, and then the orbital sockets, the orbits, right? You can see this slight arc right here. It gives us another as it were, like, sort of directional, right? There's a bit of perspective there, but it's quite masterful. It's really quite masterful
Right.
that it's being used. And so yeah, no, but I love that. And also I think it's cool too that you're kind of seeing more in it, as you go. And so there is composition, but certainly, you know what I mean? There's uh it's almost like we don't even have to think about it because it's just so well done. Hey, good morning, Kyle.
Right.
Good to see ya.
Hey, Kyle in the building.
We're just chatting about some tattoos and stuff, things that we like to usually do. Um, but anyway, yeah. Everybody, give Drew Chalice a like and a follow. See, am I following you yet? I'm following you now. Follow. Yeah, very cool. And yeah, so a lot of this really interesting neo-traditional um aesthetic, which I think can be make for great tattoos, right? And also be uh, very fascinating, right? Very artful as well. A lot of really great work. Um, but yeah, no, that's interesting that you're saying the limiting of the palette, right? The limiting of the
Hmm.
palette. Traditional artists, especially, they would only have a few colors to choose from. There were only a few colors available. Uh,
Hmm.
in Sailor Jerry's book, uh, his his autobiography, you can read about how he was able to bring over a sort of a violet color that he was able to import from Japan. Japan had purple that wasn't available
Yeah.
to American tattooers, and Sailor Jerry was able to um, interesting character, and somebody that will definitely we'll want to talk about gives specific time to, but it's just sort of an interesting connection there. But now we've got so many colors and so many different inks to choose from. Just yesterday, I visited Jason Leeser's show, and
Oh, nice.
I couldn't help but to talk about what's been going on, what the APT, the Alliance of Professional Tattooists, has been talking about. That is the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act, or MOCRA. This is a federal regulation that has been passed. It's still being, sort of finalized, but this is going to affect all of your tattoo supplies, your inks, your needles, your machines, your ointments. All of it will be subject to this federal regulation. So under the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, they are going to start regulating tattoo inks. This is a thing. It's already happened, and it's going to continue to happen. So I'm trying to encourage everybody that I know that's loves tattooing, is a tattooer or collector, anybody, get involved. Make sure the tattoo artists have a voice, have a seat at the table, to sort of talk about this. But of course, if we end up having to limit our palette, it would be really nice if this was a decision that we could make on our own to limit our palette, rather than regulation forcing us to limit our palettes, as it were.
Right.
So these are important things. But again, I really like to talk about color theory. So I had something that I really wanted to share with y'all. Let's see. Hold on a second. I will.
Kyle, I haven't responded to your message yet. I got a chance to like it, but I haven't got a chance to respond to it. I'm sorry.
Whenever you can, man. Like it's not a huge deal. We got lives. We're busy. We got shit to do. So whenever you can.
It's true. Oh, I love that book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great book. James Gurney, Color and Light. So there's a chapter on color. So again, maybe this would be a good refresher. Maybe if you're watching us out there and you enjoy this talk about color, this would be a great resource and reference, for if you're for your painting, for your tattooing. And I don't think it matters what sort of aesthetic that you are really interested in. There are basic fundamental principles that James Gurney talks about, which I think could be very useful for all sorts of applications, right? So we're going to be covering the chapter Elements of Color, and so it's pretty short. So I just figured I'd go through it with you all. And so, how's it look, Kyle? Can you see it?
Yeah, everything looks good.
Looks good. Okay. So, right, rethinking. Move this out of my way so I can read. Yeah. So rethinking the color wheel. Right. It's this is James Gurney's premise here. So here I'll just read it with you all. So when white light is bent or refracted by a prism or a rainbow, it separates into a continuous gradation of colors. Wrapping those colors around a circle creates a hue circle, better known as a color wheel. So definition of color wheel, right? Okay. So how we name, separate the colors is a matter of discussion related to physical science, visual perception, and artistic tradition. In the continuous spectrum produced by a prism, there is no clear division between the colors. Sir Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1727, proposed wrapping the spectrum around the circle by merging the two ends of the visible spectrum, red and violet. He observed that the hues gradate smoothly into each other. Figure number 2. Close. Everybody's getting motion sickness, right? Yeah. Figure 2. You can see this, this gradation, everything's just smoothly gradated. Right? So that's just what we were mentioning. We've probably seen that, but it's color picker. You know what I mean? We've seen this all before. Anyway, but in this diagram, he's identified 7 colors known as Roijibiv. So if you've ever heard that before, likely in grade school, Roijibiv is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. The tradition among artists has been to drop the indigo and to concentrate on 6 basic colors. The artist's primaries. Right. Artists generally regard red, yellow, and blue as the most basic colors, but from the Greek and Roman times to the Renaissance, most people thought green should be included too. The idea of a primary color is that it should be possible to mix every other color out of the 3 primaries. If you ask most people to select 3 hues of paint to match their mental image of the primary colors, they will most likely pick something like cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and ultramarine. You may have noticed that with those colors, you can mix clear oranges, but the greens and violets are very dull. The traditional artist's wheel, figure 3, so this one right here with the little clock in the middle of it here, presents yellow, red, and blue spaced at even thirds around the color wheel about in the position of 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Mixtures of the red, blue, and yellow primaries create the secondary colors, and they are violet, green, and orange. They appear between the primaries at 2, 6, and 10 o'clock on the tradition. So just to kind of check it out, because we just sort of said, so yellow at 12 o'clock. What was it? He named these also so nicely. Yellow, red, and blue, right? So red at 2 o'clock and then blue at 6 o'clock, followed by the secondary colors. Violet at 6 o'clock. Violet at like 4, looks like 3:30, 3:45 or something like that. And then green at 10 o'clock, orange at 1. Interesting, right? Just sort of interesting how it's sort of, how this traditional wheel is sort of broken up. Anyways, complements. This is color theory, right? Complementary colors. Any color that holds a position directly across the wheel from another color is known as a complement. In the world of pigments and color mixing, the color pairs are yellow and violet, green and red, blue and orange. And when the pigmentary complements are mixed together, they result in a neutral gray that is a gray with no hue identity. The realm of after images and visual perception, these pairings are slightly different. Blue is opposite yellow and not orange. Yeah, just sort of interesting. But yeah, like you look at the color wheel, you can see, it's sort of represented like yellow is across from violet. And those are the complements, right? Red is across from green. They are complementary. Blue from orange. When you mix them together, they neutralize each other. So when we say hue, we're talking about this name of the color, right? And when we say this intensity, right, there's a certain intensity, a maximum intensity where it's like this pure yellow or pure blue or whatever. When it mixes with its complement, it neutralizes and becomes closer to some kind of a gray. So anyway, that's what we were talking about so far, right? The traditional wheel. There are a few problems with the traditional wheel, according to James Gurney. The wheel in figure 3, first, the idea that red, yellow, and blue are primaries is not set in stone. Any of the infinite hues on the outer rim of the gradating wheel could make an equal claim as a primary. So let's get into it here a little bit. There's a little bit of text on these first 2 pages, but then it's lots of pictures. I was just chatting yesterday, and I love art books. I have lots of them, and it's always something that I've really collected and been interested in. But I just looked at the pictures for years and years. You know what I mean? I didn't read that shit. Like, guilty, right? There's a whole other world that happens, right? When you read the words in the art books, everybody, right? So if you are, if you're hooked on TikTok, you know what I mean? If you're just constantly TikToking, you know what I mean? It can be tough, right? To sit down and read stuff. But I just, I think that it can be so beneficial, right? anyway, I love to read the art books these days. I get so much more out of it, especially like this one. I've read this one a few times, and I was reading it, before we got on to sort of refamiliarize myself with some of this content. And you get more out of it every time. There's always something new that you learn. So anyway, let's get back into it. In addition, none of the hues are secondary or composite by their nature. Green is no more secondary than blue is. The third problem is that spacing of the colors on the traditional wheel is out of proportion, like a clock face with some of the numbers bunched up in one corner, center of the figure 3. We saw that already. It expands the yellow and orange red section of the spectrum too much so that the red is at 4 o'clock instead of at 2, and the blue is at 8 o'clock instead of 6. This uneven distribution came about partly because our eyes are more sensitive to small differences among the yellows, oranges, reds, blues, and partly because pigments are more numerous for warm colors compared to cool ones. There have always been many available pigments for the oranges and reds, but few for the violets and greens. The precious pigments, vermilion and ultramarine, became our mental image for red and blue. So these are, I think these are just some of the, also it might have to do with wavelengths of light, right? There's a difference in the wavelengths as far as like the warm colors and the cool colors. And so again, this is very interesting to think about it, right? So that way, when you're planning your color compositions, at least you have some information to go by. So the Munsell system. This is, many contemporary realist painters use the system developed by Albert Munsell about a century ago. Instead of divisions of 3 and 12, the structure is based on 10 evenly spaced spectral hues. In deference to Munsell, the diagram here shows reds on the left. So you can see what he's talking about is here's the Munsell wheel. It's this top example here. You can see all of the squares of color, and all of them are evenly spaced, and they're going towards neutrality, right? So you have the intense colors out on these outer squares, and they're going more towards neutral. And why he mentions that it's reds on the left is that you can see all the other color wheels are the reds are on the right. So anyway, out of deference to Munsell, he changed that up. That's the only reason. But anyway, this is a much more useful wheel than the traditional artist's color wheel because it allows for exact numerical descriptions of color notes. Students of Munsell's system have become accustomed to the 10 basic hues: yellow, green, yellow, green, blue, purple, purple, red, and yellow, red. So yeah, again, it doesn't have exactly the same, sort of color system. It's just another color system, right? These are all made up. Everybody's color system is made up, especially because we were just talking about, like, it's invented, this wrapping the color spectrum around a circle was invented by scientists, by Isaac Newton in a way, and Goethe. These people, that were studying optics and, the color that our vision perceives. This is the most, this was the most sort of understandable representation, right? Instead of this sort of just split up for forever. But anyways, that's what we see when we look at the visible spectrum of light versus like the whole spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, which is light, right? It's just a small little cross section. But we can keep going in a circle, right? It's infinite. Just always sort of keep moving around it, which is so nice, right? Cyan, magenta, and yellow. In the world of printing and photography, 3 colors that mix the widest range of high chroma colors are cyan, magenta, and yellow. These printers' primaries, together with black, K, are also known by the shorthand CMYK. Hopefully you've heard of that before. CMYK, it's like all the ink you have to buy for your printer or whatever. That's what they're talking about. Cyan, magenta, and yellow. K is the black. That's the black ink. They are used throughout the industry on offset lithography, computer printing, and film photography. If all other industries use different primaries from the yellow, red, blue primaries, we artists are accustomed to, then why do we keep them? That one reason is simple force of habit. Cyan and magenta don't match our mental image of the blue and red concepts we've accepted since early childhood. Right? I think that's a nice point. You know what I mean? They're similar, right? But they're not exactly the, those really intense sort of, this is what red is. And we have a definition, we have a presupposition that we've been indoctrinated with. But of course, if you mix tattoo inks, right? If you mix paints, you know that you're not going to get exactly the, this intense color by, you're not going to get the most intense orange, for instance, if you mix yellow tattoo ink with red tattoo ink. It's not the same thing as the orange ink that you could pour from the bottle, let's say, right? There's a difference. And so it's probably mixed up with some slightly, different sort of mixture, right? Than just those particular ones. But when you mix up colors from a limited palette, right, you're going to come up with more harmonies, right? Rather than just sort of picking each individual color, right? This is what we've been kind of talking about today as well, is that, like, if we have to limit our palettes, sometimes it's a good practice to do, but when you do it, you may have to sacrifice sort of intensity, right, for harmony. That is something, and that could be better sometimes, to be honest. So red, green, and blue. At right is a corrected wheel. First in digital form, and then painted in oil. Note that halfway mixtures between yellow and magenta and cyan are red, really orange red, blue, really violet blue, green, and these three colors, RGB, or red, green, and blue, are significant because they are the primary colors of light as opposed to pigment. This is something, they're basically, color theory breaks into two different categories. There is additive color theory and subtractive color theory. Additive color theory is, of course, the theory behind your screen, right, that you're looking at right now. How does the screen produce the colors that you see? It's by adding the different wavelengths of light together, the RGB, the red, blue, green. Right, so it's using, and here we go. We're just like James Garner was talking about, green as a primary color, right? We don't always think of it that way, but green is a primary. You add the colors together spectrally, it produces the others, right? When we talk about pigments, tattoos are included in this, right? This is subtractive color theory. What happens is the way that we see color is reflects light. A surface reflects light. An object reflects light. Your skin reflects light. It's absorbing all of the, the different wavelengths of light. So we're only reflecting the ones you see. So you see red, that substance, that surface is absorbing all the other spectrum of light, and it's reflecting the red spectrum back to you, right? If you see something that's very light in value, we generalize it, say that's white, it's reflecting all of the spectrum back. When it's, the generalized darkest dark, we say black, it's absorbing as much of it as you can, and it's reflecting very little back. And that's that's subtractive, right? And so anyways, these three colors, red, green, and blue, are significant because they are the primary colors of light as opposed to pigment. Lighting designers and computer graphics artists consider RGB as their primaries, and CM, cyan, magenta, and yellow, as their secondaries. Mixing red, green, and blue lights together on the theatrical stage or a computer screen results in white light. Until recently, it's been hard for chemical pigments that would match up with cyan, magenta, and yellow primaries, and it's still impossible to find pigments that have their properties that the artists want. The pigments cadmium yellow light, quinacridone magenta, and phthalocyan come close. But the latter two are unsatisfactory if you like opacity, right? I love these words, right? I love the the chemical names for colors. They're so fascinating. Beautiful language, around color. It's beautiful working with color. You know what I mean? It's such an incredible privilege, and such a like incredible thing to dedicate your life to. So anyway, the Yermbly wheel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Placing red, green, and blue on the wheel evenly beneath cyan, magenta, and yellow create a universal color wheel useful in many different settings. Think of these as 6 equal primaries: yellow, red, magenta, blue, cyan, and green. Counting clockwise from the top of the wheel, they are yellow, red, magenta, blue, cyan, and green. You can remember them as Yirmbly, or you must, you ride my bus, cousin Gus. You ride my bus, cousin Gus. It's fun to sort of, come up with a phrase to help you, mnemonic device, if you like, right? Should painters adopt this 6 primary color wheel? It's good to learn this mental image of the ideal color wheel, regardless of what pigments you actually use as primaries. What's important is that you know where colors you're using actually belong on a mathematically accurate color wheel. Right? So we can see that there's like intense colors, and it's like heading in towards the middle. They get more and more neutralized. And these 2 color wheel examples that you can see over here on the right-hand side. Okay, right, chroma and value, right? Like value is the most important thing. We've talked about that a lot, but let's dig into this a little bit. Whenever you paint directly from observation, you have to translate a wide range of tones that meet your eye. The colors on the palette often don't match a wide range of tones in a given scene. So as we saw on the previous page, every color can be defined in terms of 2 dimensions: hue, where it appears around on the edge of the color wheel, and chroma, how the pure or grayed down it appears, right? Third dimension to consider for any color mixture is the value, or the lightness. The value dimension is generally represented along the vertical and above and below the color wheel, creating a spherical, cylindrical, or double cone shape, just in terms of the wheel, like we were seeing, like it was sort of going in towards the center. Since it's a 3-dimensional volume, it's also called color space or color solid. One of Albert Munsell's contributions to the understanding and practical use of color was his numerical classification system. And so, there's you can use Munsell's color classification system to find a particular color on his, in his wheel that he developed. Many painters have adopted Munsell's color notations to help them accurately observe, select, and mix any color. Artists trained in the Munsell notation became accustomed to navigating in a 3-dimensional color space each time they think about a color. I'm sort of reminded of Russ Abbott's color wheel, for tattoos. Like, you can see that thing, and it's, it has all of the eternal inks all listed out in this way. It's sort of a notation. And so we can see James Gurney's little paint swatches here, sort of the intensity, you know what I mean? And it's also its neutrality, if you like. So peak chroma and value. Munsell observed that a given hue reaches its greatest chroma at one particular value called the home value, or the peak chroma value. That peak value varies from color to color. Yellow, for example, is the most intense at the very light value, while blue is the strongest when it is very dark. Red reaches a maximum chroma at the middle value. The hand-painted chart below takes those 3 hues through all possible degrees of chroma and value. Chroma is constant along the vertical line, while value is constant along the horizontal line. Red neon. You can see there's an image here of red neon, and then we're going to see a painting that James Gurney did of red neon. Red neon was the subject of a rainy day plein air painting. The neon presented a problem because the effect on the eye couldn't be mixed with pigments. The neon color was one of the lightest values in the scene. The red-orange color was also extremely saturated. The only paint that could simulate that high value was pure white oil paint, but then it would have no hue character at all. Likewise, for any light tint of the red was noticeable, weak in chroma. Right? It looked orange or pink, and bright red, as it came from the tube, wouldn't work because the peak chroma value was far too dark compared to white. The compromise was to paint the neon bulb in a pure tint of orange-red and surround it with a flood of red-orange at the mid-value. So the digital photo above, which we just saw, you can see it says drugs. It presents that. So here's his painting of the neon sign. I think it's very effective. I think that this works well. And you can sort of see, that it has a high, it has a high value, lightness, but also there's a real intensity of hue. as well. So like, how is this achieved? Here's another. We'll just go back and look at that for a minute because it's like,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So are we saying that it's the muted blues that are allowing for this, the muted blues and purples?
Yeah, I think, well, so you can see that if we zoom up a bit, we can see that there is like, it's fairly neutral, right? This really light, this light red orange that's happening, that's the actual neon bulb itself, right? The glass of it. It's, there's a, it's light, but it doesn't have that color character. But surrounded is this wash of, of more intense colors. And it's contrasted by darker, neutral, cool colors. Right. So through, and then there's also, you can see there's a really dark note in the middle, right? And these little edges of small darks. That's darkest. It's darker here than it is like back here in the background. Right. It's punchy, right? There's the highest bit of contrast. There's a lot of different contrasts in this, but the most intense contrast, that's what I would say. Like if I look at this little dark spot, for instance, right here, it might be the darkest spot in the whole image. It's right there at this little corner of the U and the G. Has the darkest value. It certainly has the highest contrast because everything is really, really tight together. And that, I think, is why it starts to feel luminous and illuminated. Again, sort of this really beautiful reflection. All of these gumballs, they certainly, it looks like an orange gumball, it looks like a yellow one, this sort of a thing. But we can see if we look at them, there's a lot of different colors happening. It's not just the one. There's a lot going on. And so, right, I think these are some of the things that really want to highlight as we're talking about our ideas of color. Where to use intensity versus where to use something more neutral to give contrast. For instance, the silver, this silverish chrome top of the gumball machine. Those are all very neutral grays, right? It's not flat. There's a lot of contrast. In fact, there's like some of the darkest darks and the lightest lights are very closely, proximate to each other. That gives us this very shiny appearance. The gumballs themselves, very intense, hue arrangement. And then the machine itself, very intense red. And that's contrasted with a very neutralized sort of background. The glass between is neutralized. That made me think of the artist that we were just looking at, Drew's work, where you saw that red skull, very, very, dramatic. It brought our eye to that object, where all of the neutralness, like the leaves were very neutral, they were slightly orange, but very neutral. The glass as well had a real neutral kind of character to it. So local color, right? Local color is the surface of an object as it appears close up in white light. If you add, or if you held up a matching paint swatch right against it, that swatch would be the local color. However, the color you actually mix to paint that object will be different usually. Same thing with a tattoo. I was thinking about this in terms of like when we look at a photo reference for our, we're trying to match up colors for a photo reference. In a way, there's a real parallel, to painting from life. All right, it's different. Looking at a photo is everything's stable. Right? If you're watching life and trying to paint, you're going to have so many slight differences. There's all sorts of contingency that happens. But again, how do you match up? Do you match color for color? That can be very challenging, right? Instead, there may be a sort of generalizing that you end up having to do at a certain point that helps you achieve the the effect that you want. So here he talks to the story about visiting Malta. All the buses in Malta are painted bands of yellow, red, and white. When I sat down to paint this sketch above, my job wasn't too different from the task of filling in a coloring book. The colors on my painting resembled actual paint colors used on the bus. But even in this simple sketch, I had to make a few modifications to the local color. I lightened the yellow in the plane above the wheel. You can see the little, it's light yellow highlight on it. And the red band also had to be lighter at the top where it angled back to pick up the light. Yeah, right there on the front of the bus, you see this little top edge. Kind of gives us an impression of the form, the light on the form. Generally, the colors you actually mix in the painting will involve some modulation of the local color. You might lighten or darken the color to model the form, gray it down to push it back, layers of atmosphere, shift the hue to account for reflected light, other things. Grays and neutrals. Grays or neutrals are the opposite of the intense colors. That's what we've been talking about. Sometimes we associate grays with blandness or dullness, but they are actually an artist's best friend. More paintings fail because of too much intense color rather than too much gray. I think we could just sort of substitute the word tattoo in there. Really, you know what I mean? Too much intensity. It just means that you don't have any. You don't have any contrast. Contrast is about difference. So having some neutrality, some neutral colors, along with your very intense ones, can offer a much wider, array of possibilities. And so, so we can see like this very, it's sort of geometrically about in the center of this composition, this little red Texaco, like logo. And then, there's some, it gets picked up over here in this vehicle, right? That same intense red. So, again, we're kind of bouncing back and forth. There are other visual devices that compose, sort of moves our eye around the composition. But certainly there's also a really nice sort of rule of thirds as far as composition goes, how this thing is composed. Like the top of the sign aligns probably with this third of the way down. And then you can see this, there's a third of the way, there's the dock of this area, the top of this trunk, for instance. So nice sort of compositional devices. Again, it's there, but it's not cheesy. You know what I mean? It's not, it's there, but it's not too, it helps it, right? It helps it. But even in this one, right, you run the risk of making something very static, by putting something directly in the center. It's almost at the center, right? But it's just a little bit off. So there's something interesting, right, about having that intention. If you put something in the very center, think about like a mandala or something, it becomes very static, contemplative, if you like, makes you contemplate stuff. But having it just off the center, it almost makes it raises the tension, because almost visually you want to sort of bring it, you want it to center. Once you put it in the center, again, like you reach this sort of, you've released the tensions, right? There's pleasure, right? In there, in that center part. So grays can provide the setting for bright color accents. That's the concept there. Another example of this incredible like neon stuff, very interesting. And again, I think we can see, this sort of using this really dark accent around, so intense colors and then a light one. So there's a full range of value, right? And the contrast is there. It's very light sort of, says sign, right, is neutral, very neutral, that surrounds it, supports all those intense colors. We just think of it probably a white sign, but it's not that, right? There's a lot of gray, there's a lot of color right here in this sign that surrounds diner, right? But in our minds, we put it together as white. And then of course you see this little open neon sign, very, very wonderful.
I have a tattoo related question.
Yeah, of course.
It's completely off topic, but I was like, well, maybe I just got a message from one of my clients. She just got a flu shot and she wants to know if it will affect the tattoo process in any way. This is a fairly large tattoo that I'm pretty excited about. So I hope your answer is going to be no, that will affect the tattoo in absolutely no way.
I really don't have any idea about it. She may, I can't answer. She may not feel, her 100% that day, you know what I mean? If she's she just got a flu shot. That can make you feel a bit under the weather at times. Kyle, you know anything about this? Is this
I was just
something that you
about to
can-
say the exact same thing as you did. You know, like I don't really see her getting the tattoo at all, but she might feel like crap getting tattooed, which would make the process a little bit worse on her end.
Oh yeah,
So
gotcha.
I don't see it
Well, I
affect
can-
the tattoo at all.
Okay, sweet. I'll just let her know that it won't affect the tattoo, but you might want to stay hydrated and just kind of check in with your
Yeah.
body and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Well rested,
Um,
pajamas, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
There is
cool. Oh, that's beautiful.
there's a bit more, you know, so he talks here a bit about like the green problem. Again, it's sort of a, you know, it can be tough, right? To sort of mix a green that has this sort of intensity that you want, but again, you're going to get more harmony when you mix your colors together. So it may be, you know, it may be advantageous to sort of add, you know, a little bit of green, you know what I mean? That, you know, sort of thinking about it like a primer. But you'll want to mix that in the other ones too. There's a lot to color. So it's worth your time to sit down, study, you know, the work of others, and then of course, you know, read some art books about it. We've talked about color a few times. Look at all these greens. Look, so many greens, really. You know what I mean? There's a real harmonious relationship to all of the greens here. But again, you know, there's a lot going on that can be that I think can be very, very beautiful. A little bit of atmosphere. I love this painting. Looks like Hudson, you know, River School sort of a thing. But I do believe this is a James Gurney piece. Tint, right? Tint is adding white, so you're kind of, you know, we call it pastel is another word for it, but you know, but the tint is adding white and making the, you know, you can add a little bit of atmosphere, atmospheric perspective. And so yeah, here's one more finish on this epic. I don't know if I can back up. Come on.
Damn.
Pretty cool, right? Yeah, it looks like they've broken through the gates. Kick-ass bird. So anyway, that was the chapter on color I really wanted to share with you. James Gurney, very very fantastic artist. And I think this is appropriate here. We could probably show a little bit of this work. So get back to tattoos, right? Because that's our theme. But Mike Stocking is a incredible tattooer, and look at this, some neon in tattoo form. How do you do that? You know, we're looking at some paintings that had some neon stuff going on, but how does he do this neon tattoo effect? He's taken us through the process, but I think watching it, it still doesn't quite explain it. It's magical. You know what I mean? Very much has that sort of luminous neon effect to it.
Wow, look at that.
And it's very cool. Let's see. Here's this this ape face, neon ape, and a cover up too. Why not? Because you make it even another degree of difficulty. So nice, you know, composing.
Mike Stocking.
Yeah, Mike Stocking. He also does some really nice videos. There it is. Very, very good. Very. He also does some really nice videos about, you know, Procreate tips and stuff. Yes. And so it can really be, I think, it's going to really be very nice, you know, to go through. Let's see. Is there any more? Because we were talking about, he does these glowing ones too that are very, very sweet. So just illuminated, looks like, you know, it looks like there's a strong red light that's happening underneath. Yeah, very, very effective use, right, of color theory. Here's the same sort of thing we were just talking about, right? All of this neutral stuff, and of course, like an intense sort of value relationship, along with intense color. There's a strong contrast of tonal value and then intense color. Maybe that's the right way to frame it, based on the language you're using, right? But again, like if this had, if all this back of the ear and all this back of the stuff had been just the same intensity as this red or this yellow, it would lose some of the character, right? It would lose something. So there really is some beautiful uses of color theory here.
Do you think that that's just flat, white, like flat? If you go back to the wolf, like his teeth and the eyes, like, do you think that that's just one color, like the teeth, like one orange?
Looks like it. And there's certainly like a neo-traditional vibe to, to say a piece like this, and maybe even some of the other ones that we're seeing. There's a simplified, character to these things. Yeah, the teeth don't look rendered. There isn't like a shadow side or anything. It's just contrast between the dark, right, and the lighter, the tooth, right, all of the red that's on the face. But the dimension does come through back, for the overall head shape itself. So it is kind of an interesting graphical mix where you have this nod to what we would call realism, to my understanding, and I may not be 100% accurate here, but for realism, it's like representations that have a real, like, they represent the real in some way.
Yeah, I would definitely say that he takes from realism. I mean, just looking at the light source, you could tell that the light source is kind of coming from maybe like 45-degree angle down. You know what I mean? It's like being lit from so that's a real aspect of his tattooing, but is just the kind of the way he designs this is absolutely like a neo-traditional.
Yeah, where photorealism would be a different thing, where we're really trying to capture, like subtleties of a photograph or something like that, or even like there can be like a very I mean, even in if you're academically sort of you're drawing something from life, you're redrawing it again, there's going to be some there's always going to be stylization no matter what you do. Yeah, looks like Jurassic Park, that scene. So fun, just a really fun kind of take on that. Yeah, there's a whimsy that here. There's all kinds of really great color theory and stuff, really pertinent to what we were talking about. But yeah, that was where that's what I wanted to. That's really what I wanted to share with you guys, and open up the floor to some comments and stuff, and maybe if anybody else wanted to share,
I'm glad that you shared that. I'm sorry. I'm just saying that I have to. I'm working on my conversational skills on Zoom. I have a challenge with interrupting because I'm not exactly certain. You don't get the little nuances that if someone is finished with what they're about to say in Zoom, so you kind of have to, do like a little bit of a jump rope type thing. So yeah, no, I'm really glad that you shared this because I really like this guy's style. I was talking to Kyle and I was just saying that I feel as though everybody just wants realism these days, but he was telling me like, nah, like he was saying that his wife does neo-traditional and she's booked up. It's a lot of people. It's just people just want beautiful, beautiful work that speaks to them. And, you don't have to necessarily you don't have to represent reality in a real way. You can do it in ways that will shock people and still, give that shock value. Because honestly, I think that's what realism is. It's the shock value. It's the, oh my God, it looks so real. It's the, you know what I mean? It's amazing. And you know what I mean? the only thing that we know that could do that is a camera, but your human hands did it, and that's fascinating. But yeah, just when you showed these, wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, this is dope. This is dope. I love this. This makes me feel a certain type of way. It evokes emotion, you know. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in how artists are able to utilize elements of art to evoke emotion and to move you. All right, let's rant over.
Well, I think that, if anybody that uses Zoom, it's the way to conversate on this platform is there's challenges. You know what I mean? It's not the same as being in person and stuff. So yeah, I definitely understand, where you're coming from. But this is just one. Gabe sent me a recommendation. He's like, show Jillian Marie. And yeah, this amazing neo-traditional stuff, super bold. But of course, again, we're seeing this very sort of calibrated approach to, to sort of, there's neutral colors, there's intense colors, there's the full range of tonal value, right? There's dark darks, there's really bright lights. And again, the graphical quality that you get in neo-traditional, but through the use of lines and edges, right? There's lines and there's edges. And so both are being used. It seems like it's pretty important in the photorealist sort of camp that you don't really use lines too much. You know what I mean? It's all about it's edge on edge. Whereas with neo-traditional tattooing, more broadly, outlines are a very important component that we rely on a lot. I don't think it lessens. You know what I mean? I don't think it devalues it. I think it's it is expedient, but it's also very effective, and it lends a different aesthetical quality to things. So, and some people really like the, no outline sort of thing, and I appreciate that. Yeah, these are so beautiful. Yeah, like this thing too.
Yeah, they jump out at you. I mean, they just jump off the screen.
Yeah, it's yeah, they're very wonderful. But yeah, no, I think oh, wait, right there.
I like how everything's just like in its specific spot. It doesn't bleed over into like really anything else at all.
You mean like another tattoo, or
well, like
part of the
her
body?
reds, like when one of those pieces, like the blue's at the blue, like it doesn't, the blue's not anywhere else. It's like on this one, like the flowers, like they're the blues and bluish grays, and that's it. It doesn't go anywhere else. The grays on the bird are gray, but they're not the bluish gray. It's very controlled and very like specific in its area.
There's a different color character to the gray, right? There's like warm gray in the bird, and then the flowers have a cool gray. But yeah, there's really intense yellows here around the beak and around the eyes. So just really, yeah, candles and tattoos, everybody. Right? This is beautiful work. Yeah, I love this. So again, yeah, very cool neo-traditional sort of thing. But also just a real like there's a real fidelity to life and to realism. You know what I mean? It's stylized, but there's also there's just a lot of sort of there is a real great attention to the details that make it what it is. But this one, when I saw it, I was like, wow, what a technically perfect tattoo. Technically perfect in its application. Incredible.
She loved doing all those circles. I will tell you that much. She loved doing all those circles.
Mm.
But no, she knocked this out of the ballpark. She did so good on it.
Yeah, this one should be famous. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. How to get this sort of saturation, and then of course here we can see these little, very subtle.
Those are actually stencil, but I
What is
like
it?
how
Okay.
it looks over
I was
top.
like, wait a minute, how did you tattoo that? All right, so stencil. Fine.
Yeah. I still like it though. I still think it looks pretty cool.
It really
Could be
does.
done.
Yeah.
They are the overall, the whole thing though is just, it really is
Yeah.
so impressive.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's such a beautiful tattoo.
Yeah, she did really, really good on that.
Yeah, a lot of really good ones. Look at this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh man. See, I just
So
love
cute.
how like it's almost because I'm what I just spent so much time learning like shadow and depth and form, but you have artists that like it doesn't even look like their shadow. Like the head is not creating a shadow of the body. There's not a shadow under the legs. You know what I mean? But you could still tell that these things are coming forward more, and you can tell that what I mean,
Mhm.
that these things are round and have form, and I really like that. It's like they're using other devices other than shadow to create form.
Mhm. Yeah, like line weight and the contour of everything,
Hmm.
little subtle things like that help out so much.
Hmm.
Right. Well, cartoons work. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
we all love cartoons and stuff, and so it's like that works.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
and so it's kind of there's a similar principle and stuff. That's probably at play. Oh, cool, fun bottle. Look up
Mhm.
stuff today. Um,
Mm.
Yep,
yeah, but
saturated purple, everything else is desaturated,
yes.
focal
Well,
points.
it's interesting. And so I just want to say, like, so Kyle, when you say desaturated, you're talking about it's neutral.
Oh yeah, neutral.
Yeah. So
Uh Low chroma?
we get into this sort of you're right in your language. It's just sort of like tattooers use saturated to refer to how much ink you got in there. But
Mhm.
but when you're saying saturated in this case, you're talking about like that it's a neutral
Do you
gray.
think that like the amount of ink in the skin can also like it could also almost be uh put as like opacity? You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Okay. So because
Uh,
that's how my brain works, like the opacity of like how much is in the ink is in the skin, like like 100% opacity. Yeah, whatever. But that's completely besides the point. But yeah. The low chroma, is that same
Yeah,
thing as
so
neutral?
that's the thing. You are right, 100. Like you're right here in all the words you're using, but like the thing that we get hung up on, you know what I mean, would be like again,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
tattoos are ink is transparent. You know what I mean? We're seeing that, but even like oil paints are transparent, but you would still talk about opacity there as well to certain degrees.
Yeah.
So,
I'm picking up now. Yeah. So
oh,
the
intensity, right? That
yeah,
would be the word.
intensity and the neutral. I gotcha.
Right. That would be words, again, like, as mentors and stuff like that, we're going to have young tattooers we're talking to, or even old ones, you know what I mean? We're talking about stuff. And so it's just so common in the biz, right? When tattooers say intensity or when tattooers say, you know, saturation, uh, that's so often that's what they mean. But of course, in color theory language, is like it means that
Mhm.
we're talking about the same stuff, but it can be I think it can be important to sort of as we sort of just make sure to emphasize things because you're exactly right, and you're using language using is perfectly acceptable. It's just people get that it's tough. It is so tough, right? These
Mhm.
two things that that we talk about, there's so there's such a parallel
Mhm.
between them, but but this is what I find. It's like it's how do you communicate it, and it can be such a challenge. but yeah, this is awesome.
Mhm. Have you seen her fish yet?
Let's look at it. Which one was it?
I don't know
This
if it's down.
trout, this like rainbow trout guy.
She got, yeah, she did those ones recently on a client from California. I think it's farther down because she
Okay.
did one on her dad, and it's just
Look at these.
I can't do fish like that.
Yeah, the this so the saturation, the actual the saturation of the ink, and but such tight, it's such a tight detail.
Uh-huh.
Crazy. That's crazy to me. Like how technically demanding.
Yeah.
Like, what does she use? Does she use like little round needles and fill it in or something like that?
She uses majority of the time. Yeah, she uses round shaders and mags. She uses all the brushes.
It looks smooth like a mag, but you know what I mean. But it's just it's so packed in, so tight. It's technically dazzling. All right, lower down. You want to see this fish? I'd love to see it.
Yeah, she did it on her dad, and it's
Which
just
one?
that one. Yeah, it healed up so fucking good. It still looks like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Can we zoom in a little bit and see some of the surface?
Yeah. See, look at the fin.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah,
So
that's serious. That's serious.
Right, and this is all edge. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about lines and stuff like that. The only lines are there just for, just to firm up the edge slightly, but there isn't any, like line weight. That's that's sort of taking, knocking us out of the illusion. So it's kind of a trompe l'oeil thing. It's really interesting. And then this is really nice. I think this was really, this is a really beautiful moment right here. Lost sort of edge, especially I bet healed. It's even more.
Oh yeah.
This little sort of
how it just like slowly fades from like solid black and then it just goes into that gray line. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, focus thing. Yep. And here too, you know what I mean? The use of this sort of a very cool gray to a warm gray underneath. There's really sort of masterful use. And that is what allows us to have these really beautiful colors, I think. You know what I mean? Is that different contrast between, we have these really intense colors versus really, really neutral ones. Just go, so very neutral, and accents of color and stuff. Yeah, really love it.
Super good.
It's beautiful. And then again, it's sort of it's wonderful to admire the work of other tattooers, right? And especially, it's very interesting, I think, to kind of see reflected back, some of these fundamentals we were just talking about. Here they are being, practically applied in very effective ways. All the artists that we just looked at, I think, were, they're very much, they're thinking about these ideas that we were talking. And so yeah, that's not to demystify it. Hopefully we didn't answer any questions for anybody. We we're gonna get you motivated to get out there and start doing your research and doing your color studies and stuff. You know what I mean? That's what I don't think we do answers here. I don't think we do any of that. I think we make questions here. You know what I mean? That's the
right.
The fun
open that we do. So
Spirit, I did the whole vaccine tattoo thing. Are you doing the tattoo over the vaccine area?
No, that I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I would imagine that would pose an issue.
Yeah. That's all I'm reading. That's the only thing. Like I'm not seeing any like studies or like any evidence. It's just like, hey, don't do it. Just don't tattoo over the vaccinated area. So if it's somewhere else, like 100%, don't even worry. You're fine.
Okay, sweet. Thanks.
But yeah, like the whole use of color, it's so fun. It's so much fun because like it instead of sticking to like you're just like super high chroma colors. And that palette's very limited if you just keep everything like super high chroma. But then once you start breaking into like lower chromas and going lower and lower and using with the high chromas, it just like your color palette just explodes. And there's so many colors. It's so many colors. For every little thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the exactly, Kyle. And that's kind of one of the things that I kind of get caught up in a lot. Is what colors to use, what combinations of colors to use. I primarily, I feel like I'm a color guy. You know what I mean? And so just because another thing is like I don't want every color to be bright. I just want like one color to be bright. You know what I mean? But I end up making all the colors bright. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe I should just start just using muted cool colors and just stop with the bright.
Like whatever your focal point is, make sure that one has the highest chroma, and then everything else, the chroma is only allowed to go up so high. You know what I mean? And that way, the most because it seems like if your focal point is like super high saturated or super high chroma, and then the other elements are like a lower chroma, it's almost like you tend to lose like a little. The more gray it is, the less interesting it becomes. Does that make sense? To where like your secondary items and like tertiary items and stuff like that, the grayer they become, the quicker and easier it is to focus in on the focal point. Because like your brain's like distracted by all this like neutral colored things, So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I said that, so good words.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's great. That's great. So just what I got from it is basically that, you know what I mean, the more you have, it's you're like just throwing too much shit at the brain.
Yeah. Like if everything's like super high chroma, absolutely everything is like a way that I look at it is like if we were in a band, and everything like that, and then everybody was playing like their drum solo, the guitar solo, bass solo, singing everything all at once, so like you can't focus on anything. Like sometimes it does work out because like you got thicker lines like cartoons and like other types of mediums that rely on the high chroma stuff. It does work, but like for like I don't know, more like the art that we do, it works a lot better that way. It's where like like your guitar solo, that's the highest chroma thing in the thing, and then you've got like your more desaturated like the leaves. That one's the red skull that we're looking at. Like the leaves are more just like the drums that are just lightly playing, behind it. And then like the other items I can't think were in there are just like I don't know, the bass doing his little bump, like it's allowing the guitars to shine with the support of the other members of the band. So it's not like yes, we have to go through every single inch and every single detail of the pieces that we draw and everything like that. We want everything to be perfect, so we want everything to stand out in our attention. That's amazing. That's awesome. And execution, it doesn't always work out the greatest. So it's deciding on what you want the piece to be focused around, and then just kind of following the rules to help accentuate your focal point compared to taking away from it.
This is really interesting too, because I like that metaphor. You're talking about like how things to contrast, right? In terms of musicality, things sort of go to the periphery versus like what you focus on. And even in that word, I think it's right there. Like in our eyes, we have rods and cones, and those are the things that help us perceive color and light. And so in the center of your eye, you have more cones that picks up the color. And so with the things you focus on, you're looking at, you're going to see the color more intensely. The things that are on the periphery, the edge, they're going to be more about tone. They're going to be grayer. And so I think, again, like as you're composing something, if you put color everywhere, eye doesn't know where to look.
Yep.
just looking at it's focusing on everything rather than like, you know, again, so in an image that you've generated, an image that you've created, you can really sort of, you know, focus the eye on one thing and have it be this intense color that it really models the same kind of experience of looking at life. You know, when you look at life, you're gonna focus on something and you're gonna see it's in the color intensity will increase, even if it is something that's dull, right? That's the same reason why when we study paintings, like, you know, you look at the grays, you can start to see the temperature. You might actually even start to see a color because all the gray, they are a color. I mean, they're neutral. They don't have this identity, but again, like you start to see what it's made out of. And those are the, you know, so there's an anatomical reason too that helps us to know that what, you know, when we're doing it, it's, you know, can be really effective. But again, you know, you might like, you know, there might be a part of it like we're talking about. There's always things that are exceptions. You can put colors everywhere because you want to dazzle the eye. You want it to sort of be very rambunctious and move around. You can put compositions, you can center it, make it very static because that may be what you really want to have happen. I think if you unreflectively, you know, sort of you put something in the middle, and you're like, didn't think about it very much. You know, you put color every single place. It's very garish. It's like, that may not be the most effective way to convey the thing you want. So it might be, but it might not be. So that's why I think what we talked about today could be so valuable. And I just, yeah, I really loved, you know, hearing your take on this and, you know, how you use it in your own work and stuff. I think it's a constant process of working with it. Never gonna be perfect. If we ask the artists that we just saw their work today, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about what do you think about this piece and that piece? I bet they you know, they'd have some criticism as well.
Right.
Because that's we're all our own worst critic, I think. Yeah,
but this is definitely kind of helping me understand too, because, you know, just like another thing that these pieces are doing, the ones that are jumping out at you, it also gives your eye a place to rest. You know, you really kind of get a sense of, it makes it interesting because you have a bench to sit on in order to look at it. You can be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like you could just really, there's the, you know, the resting is a device that allows you to really, really take in this really interesting information. So I think that's the best way I could explain the resting.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It helps out so much, and it's like the contrast thing. Like the way I've been explaining it to myself lately is like a high traffic area. It's where, you know, you have a bunch of stuff going on and there's a bunch of detail. There's that and the other thing. Well, it's like, I don't want to be in high traffic all day, so I want to go out in the countryside, so low traffic areas, you know, to where you can rest, relax, and shit like that. So yeah, that's a very crucial thing with a lot of design work, is making sure that you have places to where the eyes can rest. So I guess that's why that would work with like traditional pieces, you know what I mean? To where it's just like solid color, line work, high traffic area, but then you've just got the skin all around them, and that's the skin. It's very, very low traffic. You know what I mean? So that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Word.
No, I love it. I think that's very useful way to think about it too. Your eyes are the traffic, right?
Yeah.
They are. It's moving around and stuff. Fun word. Enucleated eye, right? It's like a disembodied eye that sort of can go into a work of art and travel around. Where your body, your eye can do that thing. That's the traffic. I love that. I think, you know, I love that. I love that metaphor. I think that's
the inoculated eye.
It's useful, right, for us to think about it. And it's it can get too busy, right? Just like spirit thing, you have to have this place, some place to rest.
Yeah,
we get back into that, you know, the flow of everything. And that's why color wheel is probably, you know, like you stare at it, if you're making color wheel and you're staring at it for hours. Like I think it can be exhausting. I really do. They're beautiful. 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 So if you out there, you haven't made your color wheel in a while, it's good. It's a good exercise. Make one.
Mhm.
I think you'll enjoy that process.
You ever done one with inks?
Like tattoo inks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I never have. I made them with watercolor and paints and colored pencils and stuff, but never with tattoo inks. But that would be fun, I think. You know what I mean? It would be fun to make one. Maybe like on a practice skin or something. I guess you could do it on the knee. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I was saying like use them as paint, like use with a brush.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure.
Are there rules to where we can only use the pre-mixed inks, or can we mix our own colors?
Ooh, I think the field is yours.
Shit, yeah, possibilities are endless.
Fascinating.
I never even thought about making one's own color wheel.
I think it's a useful thing. It really is. And so
Yeah. Get messy. Like try colors that you wouldn't like. Oh, let's mix these colors together. Just get messy. Screw it. Just have fun with it. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I got to mix this specific color and this specific color. Like, screw it. I'm gonna mix like contrasting, complementary colors. And I'm gonna throw in another one. See what happens there. See what kind of gray it makes and stuff like that. Because it's just different colors.
Yeah, there's so much that like a big part of color wheel, of course, is that you're making those grays. Here, I'm share this. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
This old color wheel. This one is made out of inks, right? Like, so all these different neutralized colors, right? That they're intense, right? But then there's also neutral versions. You could see like at a certain value, right here, about like at the middle, just like we were talking about, like this sort of red orange, right? It's just about the middle value. You can see middle gray, 50% gray or something like that. That's the most intense version of this particular color. Same thing here with this, let's see, back up. Yeah, so I would say that this one is the red, and this one's the red orange, this one, right? Something like that. But yeah, no, I think we were also talking about, like, if we look at the blue, where's the most intense blue? It's true blue. You can see how dark it is in value.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the most intense blue color, very dark. It's very dark in nature. Where yellow, we jump up here, right? Bright yellow, lightning yellow, lantern yellow.
Yeah.
In my mind, when I think about lightning yellow, like usually it's slightly chalky. You know what I mean? It's almost it's very, there's a lot of white in it. That's sort of these really intense yellows. They're right at the edge of the the value spectrum. There's a little bit of it's very light sort of value. Just like we were talking about. I like that relationship. To the James Gurney's thing, and here Russ Evans' color wheel too. I'm just sort of thinking about how things go. It's useful. This little
I just love like, oh, like the most intense blue is like so much darker than like the most intense green, or the most like it's already on, like the color wheel itself already has its value, like variation. It's not all like the exact same value on the color wheel.
Yeah, I'm almost looking. It feels like it's Georgia pine, maybe Green River. It's a little bit subjective. Which one's the most intense?
Yeah.
They're very close, but they're right at, they're just at middle, just a little bit darker than middle. But like we saw, the reds and stuff, greens, they're at the middle. Blue is dark at its most intense, and then the yellow, right, at its most intense. Of course, intensity, the other word, that we were using for intensity is saturation.
Mm.
intensity. In color theory, it means the same thing. So, I think, nobody's wrong when they say, when you say it. It's just how it goes. Um, but this has been so much fun. Just
Mhm.
getting a chance to talk about this and hopefully whetting your appetite so you want more. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
um,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. I did want to plug Kyle's appearance as a special guest on September 4th, Monday, September 4th. Kyle can't wait. That's coming right
Yeah,
up. It's like 2 weeks away or something.
something like that.
What?
What are
Yeah,
you?
so it's gonna be the Kyle show.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Getting the
I was
guys
just like,
now.
I got the invite, and I'm just like,
Uh,
so we're just gonna do the same thing, right? Like,
yeah, it'll be the same thing. They're gonna be exactly the
I'm
same.
gonna bring a notepad of all right, here we go. Number one. How do you
let's pick
do?
brains, man. Let's just come up with some fun information.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna really spotlight you and your work and ask you about your career and your experiences. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love getting to know you guys. You know what I mean? Get to know everybody that comes on here. It's um, there's
Um,
there's a real, I think, community that's starting to form, and I'm
mhm.
so so pleased by that. And again, I'm really thankful that you all got a chance to show up and um, you know, kind of help make it more lively, right?
Mhm.
It really added, I think, a really real dimension to the things that we're talking about, that,
Mhm.
that everybody came. And so so again, thank you very much for coming. Let's do some sign offs, and then we'll wrap it up for this week's episode. Um, Kyle, let's start with you. Give us your info.
Okay. My name is Kyle Olson. I tattoo out of Trinity Art Collective in Tucson, Arizona. Um, if you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me via email, kyle@tac520.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram, Olson_tattoos, OLSON. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. So,
Thank you, Kyle. Yeah, I
yeah.
really appreciate it. It was great seeing you today. It was great having a chance to, again, I really loved your insights. So we're talking about design, we're talking about color theory. Yeah, there was some ways that you were thinking about things that I personally found very, very helpful. So really great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
And thanks for allowing me to come, and color theory and just value scale, everything. We could talk about that stuff for hours, dude. There's just so many layers to that onion. It's so freaking cool, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah. So
Thank
thanks again for allowing me to come hang out and yeah, theorize. So
anytime. Yeah, anytime. Would love your theory. So Spirit, let's have you. We'd love to hear where we can find you at.
Yeah, you know it. You can find me Tattoos by Spirit on Instagram, Tattoos by Spirit on TikTok, and tattoosbyspirit.com. Anybody that's watching, I appreciate you guys for joining in, and we definitely love this show. We love coming together and picking each other's brains. It's so helpful. And y'all can find the link to the show if you ever want to zoom in at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can look at courses, the information page, and it has a little calendar, and you could just click the Zoom link. We would love to have you guys. It'd be great if we're regular people. You know what I'm saying? We just like to see who else is doing other stuff out there, and it's really fascinating. And I'm really excited to um, um, be here for Kyle's show. It's going to be exciting. So
yeah, it should be
cool.
fun.
Yeah, it's
No, thank you again for coming, Spirit. It was really great. Thank you for sharing the artist that you shared, Drew.
Mhm.
Drew's work. It really was. See if I want to pronounce his name correctly. Uh, Drew Chalice. Yeah, at Drew Chalice. It was very beautiful getting a chance to see that, and so thanks for bringing him to attention, and um, yeah, for analyzing. Right, we had a chance to analyze some of that work, and I thought that was
mm-hmm.
it's really useful. It's really fun. So yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Happy tattooing, everybody.
Yeah, thank you,
Me too,
Spirit.
man.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for joining us. It's been a fantastic episode, and it's been a fun time. You can always find this episode and more at the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel. You can also find us on the Reinventing the Tattoo homepage. I'm James Wisdom, proud member of the APT, as well as you can find me on the internet at Tattooing Wisdom. Happy drawing, everybody.